Know me, you know I love me some technology. So hey there, healing divas. It is Stacy, and I am diving into survival communication tactics and those things that we learn perhaps surviving in our childhood because we were raised by strong women, and we learned to navigate our communication styles, how we moved up in the corporate world and our businesses, relationships with men, women. It was about protecting ourselves, and we needed to have that energy in order to rise into the next level. But now I don't know about you guys, but right now I'm in this space of transition, and I feel elevating. So I want to be in a space of not just protecting myself self to just get things done, but to thrive. I'm in a place of thriving right now. And the truth of the matter is, here's the thing: as we move into these healthy spaces that are more progressive, flourishing, those survival tactics that we used in the past may not be effective for us to move into the next phases. And I'm talking about the next growth in our businesses, healthy, beautiful relationships, marriages. Uh, it's we may not be ready for it if we don't take time to deal with our stuff. So let's start with the basics because I things have to be applied. We both have men and women both have masculine and feminine energy alike. The masculine energy is what helps us take action and assert ourselves and step up when things need to get done. It's powerful and it's necessary, very necessary, especially when you're in survival mode. We need that energy to help us like pummel through the stuff. And so I am so sure that many of you can relate. So growing up, maybe you watch women in your life handle everything with a strong, no nonsense approach because they did what they had to do to take care of their families, put food on the table, raise several kids, take care of an aging parent. They had no choice but to carry that masculine energy. I'm tired of it. I want to be soft. Look, in the boardroom, no, that's who's going to show up. When I'm protecting my family, that is who is going to show up. But I don't want to have to carry that energy in, relationships. I want to be as girly as it can be because I like being a girl. Here's where it can get really tricky. Um, that in these moments, these survival communication tactics that aren't serving us in other areas of our lives, especially in our relationships, think about it. So when you're always in survival mode, you communicate differently. Man, I am up here. When I'm feeling passionate, man, I am excited. However, when I'm in my softer energy, I'm very logical. Communication is very clear. But when I'm excited, sometimes you can even be overly defensive and assert a way of vulnerability because you're trying to survive. And that is survival communication. And we pick that up out of necessity. Ladies, we pick that thing up out of necessity because we have raised kids. I mean, just a story. In my family alone, there are three men in my primary family. I had my two uncles and all the rest of us women. About women ready to fight. I'm talking about call the aunties, honey. We ready to throw down. We are ready. However, does not always work when you are in. Let me say, slow down just a bit. Striving to be in healthy romantic relationships. Let's sit there for just a second. We all want healthy relationships, and it might require us to unlearn some of that we use to this point. I'm not saying forget it, but just unlearn it. So you know when to use it and when not to use it. Okay. So let's keep going. So we're going to be shifting from survival to healthy relationships right now. The shift happens when you are in a healthy and thriving relationship, whether that's with a partner, a friend, yourself, your boss, your leadership, your community. Those survival patterns shift a little bit, especially when you acknowledge them. I know a lot of people, they throw out big terms and they don't break it down to a layer where the average Jane or Joe can get it. Okay. Buzzwords. And I'll get more into those later, and you probably know what those are, but I'm not going to get into buzzwords. I don't like buzzwords because they operate at a 6,000 square foot view, and it doesn't drop down to the people that are really using and learning how to communicate effectively, so on and so forth. But knowing that those things that energy doesn't fit anymore, once you acknowledge it, thriving relationships require a balance. They need a little more softness, openness, and vulnerability. And those things, divas, come from our feminine energy. And I do like being a girl, honey. I know you do too, especially if you listening to this. But here's the thing. That doesn't mean you abandon the masculine energy altogether. It's about learning when to lean into that feminine side and let your guard down, which can be scary, especially if that's been your fallback. So we got to reprogram it. So how do we do that? Give yourself some grace. How do we reprogram our communication to move from survival mode to thriving mode? So I compiled a few steps for you. So grab your pens and paper because this is important. I want you to jot these down. Self-awareness. That is the very first step when you're using survival tactics. Pay attention to your reactions. Some people might say your triggers. Are you being overly defensive? Are you shutting down or trying to control the situation? That's your cue. I'm giggling because, hey, you have to have some self awareness. That's it. We're learning. Be good. Give yourself some grace. 2, let's have a mindset shift. Remind yourself that you are safe now. You don't have to protect yourself against the monsters. You don't have to be in that survival mode anymore because you are established, you have a career, you've set up some boundaries, you know how to protect your own mental health. And this can be so tough because it's deeply ingrained from childhood. And just like reprogramming the poverty money mindset, it's acknowledging at this stage in your life that things have changed. And so you no longer have to fight. So here's a funny. So I don't know what has gotten into me the last couple of weeks, but I've been wanting to punch people in the face. They have been out here. Jill Scott has a song and say, I have had to be teaching people, adults, to be grown-ups. And it's because people have been stepping out, and I just been saying, I'm gonna punch him in the face. Okay, I don't know what that is, but I don't have to do that. It's just a little funny. Embrace your feminine energy. It requires us to practice some vulnerability and allowing ourselves to be soft and open in our communication. And that's not just with our partners, it's with ourselves, how we speak to ourselves. Oh, Stacey, I love you, those type of things. This it's going to feel uncomfortable, I'm telling you, at first, especially if you're used to always being in control. We all out here bosses. But remember, thriving relationships require this balance. So we have been doing a lot of talk. And if you go back through some of our most recent videos, we've been doing a lot of talk about healing. A lot. I'm talking about soul work, wealth building, giving yourself permission to pause, um, emotional intelligence, effective communication, increase. There is something happening in the wind, and there are some things happening, and we are getting ready to move exponentially into this next elevated space of abundance and overflow. Abundance and overflow. Can we get into that? Abundance and overflow. Healing work, this is big, honey. Whether it's through therapy, journaling, or working with a coach, take some time to heal and rewire those communication patterns. And remember this, healing is not linear, but every step you take brings you closer to that balance that you're looking for. It brings, excuse me, it brings you closer to the balance. And the balance between the masculine energy and the feminine energy is, get in tune with it. You know when it's happening. If you don't, go to our friend Google. I also want to say this. I want to be very clear. Masculine energy is not bad. It's powerful and very necessary at times, but in healthy relationships, knowing when to tap into your feminine energy is key, and it's very powerful. It's about balance. And sometimes being strong means letting go. Sometimes being powerful means being vulnerable. And that is the beauty of understanding, embracing both sides of yourself. So you can't expect somebody to love the good, bad, and ugly and indifferent of you if you can't love the good, bad, ugly, and indifferent of you. If you can't learn to love your light and dark spaces. You want to be able to love those parts of yourself and embrace those parts so that way you can feel safe. So, here, I'm going to wrap this up. Healing divas, healing divas. I want to leave you with this. Thriving relationships, whether with others or with yourself, require balance. It's built on balance. It's about recognizing when your survival mode is kicking in and making a conscious choice to shift into a place of openness and vulnerability. I'm always talking about give yourself grace. It's not going to be easy and it does not happen overnight. But every step you take towards reprogramming those communication tactics is an important step towards healthier, more fulfilling relationships. Okay, sis. Now, I would love to hear what your thoughts are. This is a long video. I don't usually do 13-minute videos. It's 13 minutes right now. I don't usually do that unless I have somebody else on the other side of me having those conversations. But I would truly love to hear from you. So, if anything resonated with you, drop a comment. Please drop a comment. Have you noticed your survival communication tactics showing up in your relationships? And what steps are you taking to reprogram those things? Hey, sis, let's continue this conversation because we are all in this together. We unpacking that stuff that we used to have so that way we can have a more healthy, relationships. And if you want some more of this topic, stay tuned for some of my next upcoming videos. I would love to put together a workshop around this topic. But until then, my healing divas, until then, keep healing and keep thriving. And you make it a super fantastic day. Because you know what, girl?